Hey there, I'm Evan Bourcier, and you're watching vlog number 9, which is about how to cut interviews twice as fast. I'm going to try and keep this really fast so we don't waste your time. So, I've got a YouTube project here, and it's a video that I'm working on for Lens Pro to Go, and it involves me talking, so I figured it's kind of an okay reference for something like this. So, I have our interview cut down already, but first I want to kind of go over here to where we have a little over 26 minutes of me figuring out what I'm going to say to the camera. So my goal today is to teach you the trick I use to cut things like this down as quickly as possible. It can work for regular interviews, it can work for a video like this. It really works for any time that you have to cut down someone talking. So let's say we're normally watching this and want to trim it down, and so we start watching through. Where to go? Oh no, wait, they don't want me to be from Lens Pro to Go. And we see me flubbing it, and it's not very good. And so then we end up watching through that and figuring out where the good bit is and everything. And that process takes time that I would rather not spend. Sorry, I'm straightening on my mic. So what we can do to help save time on that process is we can look at our waveforms here. And if you look at the waveforms, you'll notice these are audio levels, and there's some pretty consistent patterns going on here. And so looking at this waveform, I can tell you that this is an answer, but it's an answer that I messed up. This is an answer. This is an answer. And then this is me hemming and hawing. And so just by doing that, I can tell you that this is garbage, this is garbage, this is all garbage, and this is garbage. So now if we go back in and kill the dead space real quick, we have all answers.
Hey guys, my name's Evan Bourcier, and I am a director and the owner of Valo Visuals.
And then we'll see where it ends.
On a feature-length doc, frick.
And that's where I messed it up.
We're in Ghana. I also
So that was the end of an answer.
to run a commercial
Start of the next answer.
in your church.
End of an answer. So I know what you're thinking or not thinking is how the heck are you doing that? And it's really easy pattern recognition. Generally, if someone's talking, they talk without huge gaps in them. And so this is where you kind of have to read this. This isn't 100% secure solution. But so like this is a block of me talking to the camera, and I can tell because the level stays right here and then sharply drops off on both sides. So this is when I start talking. This is when I end talking. This is not an answer because you can tell the levels are a lot less consistent. There's random peaks. So this is me either talking to myself or talking to Dennis. And so that's all useless and not really what I'm looking for. This is the same thing. This is me maybe retaking it, but it doesn't have that sharp end, which means that I fumbled it. So we go down here again. This is an answer, and then we see the sharp end here. So this is where it stops. And then this is the start of the next one. And so usually the nice thing about this is you can at least trim down to now we have all content that's actual stuff. So we're not scrubbing through a bunch of not talking. So then maybe you go to the end of each clip and see kind of if you ended it solidly, if your interviewee ended it solidly, depending on how well you remember what they were saying. Excuse me, you might know if they're good answers or not. But you can also just go through, and I can pretty confidently, for this kind of video at least, cut it almost without listening to it, just by looking at these waveforms, and know that I'm pretty much getting rid of things that I don't need and only seeing the things that I do need. And part of that is knowing my own speech pattern, to be honest, and knowing that like this is probably me talking, this is not me talking. So just by looking at our waveforms, we're starting to rough cut this whole video without even actually playing back anything. Kill all of this. This is the beginning of a new answer.
Since we live in a world that is so...
And especially when you can see the pauses here, that's a definite sign of an answer incoming. And And so obviously this gets a little more complicated when you have an interviewer's voice and stuff in there, but assuming you have a decent signal to noise ratio, you should still be okay. This is how I cut all the Lazarus video interviews in like, I don't know how long it took me, maybe like 30 minutes, and we had 30 to 45 minute long interview roll chunks. So yeah, basically you rinse and repeat that process, but the general idea is I can tell just by looking at the waveforms here when someone's talking and saying something helpful and when they're going to stop. So rather than scrubbing everything, I can start to cut around those pieces, maybe check, is this one that I liked?
Is that you don't have to worry.
I don't love it, go to the next one, so on and so forth, and you cut your interviews down. And then once you have your interviews cut down, you can go through and add your B-roll, and everything goes a lot more quickly. So obviously there's a million ways to cut interviews. This is a trick that I use a lot, and there are many other ways you can do things depending on the actual structure of what you're trying to suss out of the interview, etc. But I think that this can definitely save you time. So thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, and if you haven't yet, go check out my Patreon. We do a lot of cool stuff over there, breaking down things I'm working on, including the business side, some other tips and tricks, live streaming edits. And thank you to our sponsors, 64 Audio and Ear Trumpet Labs, who make this awesome microphone. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.